Is America losing its grip on the auto industry to China? Joe Biden seems to think so. With the latest 100% tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles, it sure looks like it. Let's discover why the US government looks concerned. Nowadays, electric cars are becoming increasingly common. They're cleaner, quieter, and more efficient than traditional gasoline-powered cars. Companies all over the world are investing billions into developing the best EV technology, and China is no exception. In fact, China is leading the charge in many ways. China has been heavily investing in the EV industry for years. They have a massive manufacturing capability, access to essential raw materials like lithium for batteries, and a government that aggressively supports this shift. Chinese companies like BYD and NIO are becoming household names, not just in China, but globally. Now the question arises, why is the Biden government very much concerned? The main reason Biden is concerned is that China is ahead in the case of electric vehicle technology. They're not just building cars, they're building the future of transportation. Electric vehicles are seen as the next big thing because they're environmentally friendly. China's government has been investing money into EV research and development, as well as into the infrastructure needed to support electric cars, like charging stations. They've also been subsidising their EV manufacturers, making it easier for Chinese companies to compete on the global stage. The US and China are in a big game of economic chess. Recently, President Joe Biden made some significant moves that could change the way we get certain products from China. The Biden administration announced a 100% tariff on electric vehicles coming from China. A tariff is like a tax that makes imported goods more expensive. So if you were thinking about buying a Chinese electric car, it's going to cost you a lot more now. This move is meant to make American-made electric cars more attractive to buyers, hoping people will choose to buy local instead. But that's not all. Biden also set a 25% tariff on both electric and non-electric vehicle batteries from China. Batteries are a huge part of electric vehicles because they're what powers the car. By making these batteries more expensive to import, Biden aims to encourage American companies to produce more batteries domestically. This could potentially boost the US battery industry and create more jobs. In addition, the president ordered a 50% tariff on solar cells and semiconductors from China. Now Biden looks at this and sees a potential threat. If China becomes the leader in electric vehicles, it could mean fewer jobs and opportunities for Americans. It could also mean that Americans fall behind in critical areas of technology. If most of the world's cars are made in China, they'll have a huge influence over the global market. They could set standards, control prices, and dictate the future of the industry. Biden is watching this situation with both respect and worry. On one hand, he sees the benefits of EVs and the necessity to combat climate change. On the other hand, he's worried that if the US doesn't step up its game, China will dominate the auto industry. And that's a big deal because the auto industry is not just about cars, it's about jobs, technology and economic power. So what's Biden bringing up in his own country to counter this Chinese growth? He's pushing for a massive investment in America's EV infrastructure. This includes building more charging stations, supporting American EV manufacturers, and investing in research and development. He wants to make sure that American companies can compete with their Chinese counterparts. Part of Biden's strategy involves pushing for legislative changes. He's advocating for policies that support clean energy and American manufacturing. This means tax incentives for companies that build EVs in the US, grants for research into new technologies, and stricter emission standards that favour cleaner vehicles. Think about Detroit, the heart of Americans' car manufacturing. For decades, it's been the symbol of American industrial might. But with the rise of EVs, there's a risk that if the US doesn't innovate quickly enough, cities like Detroit could suffer. Jobs could be lost and the economic impact could be significant. Biden also focuses on the supply chain. A big part of making electric vehicles is having access to the right materials, like lithium for batteries. Right now, a lot of these materials are mined and processed in China. It's about reducing dependence on China and ensuring that America has a steady supply of what it needs to build the next generation of cars. Moreover, Biden is worried about cybersecurity. Modern cars, especially electric ones, are like computers on wheels. They're connected to the internet, have sophisticated software and collect a lot of data. Suppose China controls a big chunk of the auto industry. In that case, there's a concern that they could have access to sensitive information. Protecting American consumers and their data is a top priority. And another thing is that both the countries are not on good terms. Another angle to consider is the global competition. The European Union is also heavily invested in electric vehicles. They're pushing for greener transportation. If America doesn't step up its game, it could fall behind not just China, but Europe too. Biden's vision is to see the US leading the way in innovation and setting the standards for the future. Chinese car companies have been around for a while, but they've recently started gaining serious traction. brands like BYD, Geely and NIO are becoming more popular. And they're not just selling cars in China anymore, they're expanding globally, including in the US. Suppose there's no tariff on imported Chinese cars. How easy will it be for Chinese automakers to take over the US automotive industry? It'll be very easy for them. Technology and innovation are the major reasons they are strong. Chinese automakers are investing heavily in electric vehicles and new technologies. They've recognised that the future of cars is electric, and they've put in a lot of effort into making EVs that are affordable and packed with the latest tech. At the same time, their gasoline cars are also more packed with features than their American counterparts. Government support is another major factor. The Chinese government is very supportive of its auto industry. They've implemented policies to encourage the production and sale of EVs, such as subsidies and incentives for both manufacturers and consumers, and they are ready to take over the world. The key factors in Chinese companies and the government's success is their global ambitions. Chinese companies are not just satisfied with dominating their home market, they want to be global players. This means they're focusing on quality, design and features that appeal to international customers. But now the scenario has changed, and the 100% tariff can be a major problem for Chinese companies entering the United States. If there were no tariffs, then it would be very easy for Chinese companies to take over the US automotive market, as they are one level above most of the American automakers, and the people in the US love tech more than anything. Do you guys know that Chinese car brands are missing from the US market, but Chinese-made cars are still sold in the US? 15 million cars were sold in the US last year, but interestingly, none of them were from Chinese car brands like BYD or SAIC. Why? Well, the US government has a huge 27.5% tariff on her Chinese-made cars, and they just recently added a new 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles, which we had already discussed, so it's pretty unlikely we'll see these Chinese car brands in the US anytime soon. But the fun fact is, even though we don't see Chinese brands, many cars made in China are sold in the US. Many reports state that over 104,000 Chinese-made vehicles were bought by US consumers in 2023, which is a 45% increase from 2022. That is a lot. And in just the first quarter of 2024, Americans bought another 28,000 Chinese-made cars. So, the brands selling these Chinese-made vehicles in the US right now are Buick, Lincoln, Polestar and Volvo. Polestar, which is co-owned by Volvo, and Geely Automotive imported just 2,217 cars in the first 3 months of 2024. However, with the new tariffs, the future of Polestar's production plans in the US is uncertain. Polestar has plans to move some of its car production to South Carolina later in 2024, but they're still evaluating the impact of the new tariffs. A spokesperson from Polestar mentioned that the company is reviewing the Biden administration's announcement to figure out their next steps. With Biden's worry spreading everywhere, the race against China gets more intense. Can American creativity win, or will China change tactics and take the lead? Comment your thoughts on this, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.